One of the focuses this afternoon was on this exchange in the Senate estimates. The Chief of the Defence Force, the Chief Angus Campbell, was asked about the Liberal Party advertisement, as the Labor Party describes it. The PM says it was a message of information, not an ad, but the General Campbell was asked about it during Senate estimates.
Whenever the Australian Defence Force or any other apolitical body finds itself between political parties, I am discomforted, and I don't suggest there was intentionality in that circumstance.
Whom did you contact?
I spoke to the Prime Minister, Senator.
Personally?
Yes, Senator.
And you expressed your view to him? Or you provided your advice?
That's correct, Senator.
And that happened in Senate estimates this afternoon. Understandably, it attracted some attention quite quickly in question time as well.
Did General Campbell, the Chief of the Defence Force, speak to the Prime Minister personally to indicate that he was, and I quote, discomforted by the use of Australian Defence Force imagery in this post?
I talk to the Chief of the Defence Force very regularly, Mr Speaker. Very regularly.
Members on my left.
And when I have private discussions with the Chief of the Defence Force, I respect those private discussions, Mr Speaker. And when he raises whether these issues or any other issues, I always respect and thank him very much for the advice that he provides me with those matters.
The Prime Minister there in question time. With me, our political editor, Andrew Clennell, to look at this story and the rest of the news of the day. Andrew, good afternoon. What did you make of that exchange, that Liberal Party message or ad, depending on which side of politics you're on? It still remains a headache for the PM.
That's really embarrassing for the Prime Minister. There's no other way to describe that, Kieran. The last thing you want as a Prime Minister is the Chief of Defence Force being discomforted by a political point you've made. And you know, I remember being here 20 years ago when Kids Overboard happened. The Defence Force weren't happy with the Prime Minister at the time then. It's not on that scale, but it is a situation where you don't want to be in a position where the Chief of the Defence Force is not happy that somehow his institution's been tarnished by an ad. And I'd say General Campbell took it very seriously indeed to have raised it with the Prime Minister. He could have simply raised it with the Defence Minister, for example, and to then again reveal that at estimates. It's quite obvious that he was pretty cheesed off about it, and that in terms of that ad, the Prime Minister's made a mistake.
And in terms of the General Campbell's reaction, he confirmed to Penny Wong in that Senate estimates that he had raised it with the PM himself. So those questions to him were awkward, to say the least, this afternoon.
And yet the opposition made the point it's still on the website. So I guess the Prime Minister had the option, after that was raised with him by General Campbell, of pulling that from the website. That might have been wise in hindsight. Obviously no denial there from the Prime Minister. You wouldn't expect it. And we know this happened when fires and the way they were addressed were a big concern for the Prime Minister, and he was really struggling politically. But that's pretty embarrassing evidence. You know, I guess it's a one-day story, but it's not helpful to the Prime Minister at all. He seems to bounce from one issue to another at the moment.